But this news, Dawn, about the Chagos Islands again, and so £30 billion. So Starmer 1 minute says it's going to cost £3 billion or so to keep the Chagos Islands going, or to pay them off, or whatever the heck's going on. Now it appears it's about £35 billion. Yeah. So this man either doesn't know what he's talking about, or he calculatedly does know what he's talking about, and he chooses not to tell the truth.
Well, this is the thing. Is our Prime Minister a liar, or is he stupid? Now, considering what he did in a previous career, which he reminds us of on a daily basis, I don't understand how he could not understand that this does not make sense. So, perfectly, we give away something we own, and then we pay £34.7 billion to do so. That didn't make sense in the first place. But we were told that it would only cost sort of £3.4 billion over sort of 99 years, so not really to worry about it. OK, right, fine, fair enough. But now, this is a Freedom of Information request, and we have found out that the actual figures are close to £34.7 billion. And the document that was revealing this shows that civil servants were instructed to lower the cost of the deal on paper, the paper that's available to us now, to £10 billion. So they were instructed to actually massage the figures. Who was doing the instructing to massage those figures?
They were going to announce, Chris, a big saving, right? We're going to get rid of these Chagos Islands. We're not going to pay for this anymore. Then Trump gets to hear about this. And he says, oh, you think I'm paying for this on my own? I'm not paying for this. And he said, you want to be my mate, Starmer? You want to be my mate? You pay for the Chagos Islands. So Starmer then does everything he can to pay for the Chagos Islands. But what he doesn't do, Dawn, is tell us the truth. Tell us the truth.
Yeah, I mean... I don't think anyone is surprised that politicians are economical with the actuality. So
I think when they're caught out like that, that is a resigning issue.
Well, that especially what was going on to say is people used to be economical, but this is tenfold. It's not the odd million or two or odd billion or two. It's a tenfold porky pie. That's what's alarming to me, especially when you think, I mean, £30 billion, astronomical figure. The government were complaining about a supposed 20 billion black hole when they got in, but happily have given away 30 billion to lease back something that we were entitled to in the first place. I know the Conservatives started it anyway. You then think about it's half of the school budget. You then think about the deficit in the country has increased by another 20 billion since they've been
We've got a £40 billion black hole now.
Yeah. It's just, these are such huge numbers. And as often has been said, whenever there's another form of crisis, we find a few more billion. Well, who is it all resting on? We represent the normal taxpayer.
Well, do they really think we're so stupid? Do they really hate us that much, right? The great British people, the people that gave them their job.
We are that stupid.
Well, I mean, why have they done this? What are they doing? Do they think that we would not find out about this mysterious £30 billion?
And there is an inability, obviously, to be able to do the finances and run the country. And basically what we're saying to you this morning is, you're watching or listening, please do have your say on this. I don't care what political party it is or what political background you're from. He said this would cost us about £3 billion. It's costing us £35 billion. Did he know that? Did he say it in the way that he should have said it? Or was he just massaging the figures? Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private internet access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GBnews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's cross to Westminster now. I don't think it's Mel Stride's birthday today, but he is the Shadow Chancellor, and we're here to talk to him today. Always a pleasure to speak to you, Mr. Stride. The Chagos Islands making headlines today, and we're just told slightly, our viewers and listeners are a bit worried. Was this a mistake by Starmer in saying this would cost £3 billion? Did he mean £3 billion a year? Overall, are we talking practically £40 billion? What sort of situation is this deal in?
Well, I think what we've discovered, Eamon, just to unpack what's happened here, is that through a Freedom of Information request, we have managed to establish the precise calculations of the figure that the government has been putting forward. Now, the Prime Minister back in February in the House of Commons suggested about £3.4 billion for the total cost of this arrangement, and we've established that it's about 10 times that. It's about £35 billion. That's the cost over the 99 years involved here. And it all gets rather technical as to how they've narrowed this number down so much, but part of it is assumptions around inflation, but also giving the numbers a very severe haircut using something known as the, I think it's called the public service discount or something like that for longer term projects, and that has reduced the number very significantly. Now, given that the PM said back in February it was one figure and it turns out to be 10 times as much, we will of course be pressing the government very hard on this when Parliament comes back in the autumn.
Will you be asking for in September?
Sorry?
Will you be asking from the Prime Minister in September? Will you be asking him to address these figures? Will you be asking for an apology?
Yeah, absolutely. We will be saying in no uncertain terms, look, we were told back in February when in fact, for example, we had been suggesting then a figure of between 9 and 16 billion, and his response was, quote, that was wide of the mark, suggesting it was far less than this, and indeed the government has used lesser figures since then. So we will be saying, look, why has it taken the Conservative Party in a Freedom of Information request to expose this information and this dreadful situation where actually the cost to the taxpayer are about 10 times what the government have been suggesting. Now, that's not money that's going to go on helping public services or indeed defending our country in an ever more uncertain world. That is money that is going to the government of Mauritius, who incidentally have recently cut taxes for their own citizens, partly because of the funding that they're now receiving from us. This thing is just totally and utterly unacceptable.
In fairness, Keir Starmer may have been telling the truth, Mel, when you think wide of the mark. You just assumed he meant wide of the mark, meaning your figures were too high, and he's thinking, not high enough, if only you knew, mate.
Well, no, I think people understand that when you talk about the cost of an arrangement the last 99 years, you take the annual amount and you add up all the figures and you get to your number. And as I say, what has now materialised as we've got this information through the Freedom of Information request is not only has a discount been applied because of an assumption around inflation, but also a further discount applied because of the long-term nature of this arrangement. Now, Angela Rayner, when she came out and told everybody how much the Labour government would be spending on social housing going forward, did similar kind of calculations but didn't use the same methodology at all, because in that case the government of course wanted to inflate the numbers to make them look bigger. On this occasion they've used a different methodology to try and make the number look substantially smaller, and we don't think that's being straight with the British people.
It's not.
Can I ask you about the government's deport now, appeal later scheme? So the idea is to deport foreign criminals immediately before they can appeal in England and Wales. So the government is saying this is going to make the streets safer, it's going to save taxpayers' money, it's going to help the burden on our prisons. Sounds quite good, doesn't it?
Well, just to be really clear here, Ellie, this was an approach and a scheme that the Conservative government brought in 2014. What the government is saying now is that they will extend the provisions of that arrangement to include other countries. So in terms of the principle here, yeah, I think it's the right thing to be doing. What you want to do is, if you've denied somebody their asylum claim and they appeal, it's much better that they appeal having been deported and from overseas than that they remain here clogging up the system and still being in the UK when, of course, they may not ultimately have any right to be here at all. So that's absolutely fine. But look, the root of the problem here, as we all know, is that this government has not smashed the gangs as they said they would. We've had 25,000 more illegal migrants coming across the Channel this year. That is an all-time record. And these numbers, I'm afraid, are going in the wrong direction.
Issues. We'd need to leave the ECHR, wouldn't we? In terms of deporting foreign criminals, those countries would have to accept them. And in terms of stopping the boats and smashing the gangs, whatever you want to call it, we'd need to leave the ECHR, wouldn't we, in order to get anybody deported?
Well, Kemi Badenoch has made it very clear that we now have a review into the issue of the ECHR, and she's made it clear that if, in the view of that review, the ECHR is a clear impediment to our ability to deport people, many of whom will, for example, be quite dangerous and really don't belong in our country, then we will act accordingly. Now, Lord Wolfson is carrying out that review at the moment, and I'm sure it won't be too long before it reports back. But we have made it clear that we should have a deportation bill which would, for example, basically distance ourselves or resile ourselves from the Human Rights Act for the purposes of deportation. We should be setting clear targets for net migration in Parliament. We should be tightening up this system, but at the heart of it there has to be deterrence, and of course we had that with the Rwanda scheme that was about to be operationalised before the last immediately after the last general election. But one of the first things this government did was to abandon that scheme. So the root of the problem is this government is just not gripping illegal migration or net migration either.
Shadow Chancellor, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Just hold that thought. We're going to come back to you because we're going to speak to a government minister now, and that's Alex Davis. First of all, Alex is a Justice Minister, so we'll say hello, good morning to you, Alex. Alex, tell you what.
Good morning.
Hiya. This scheme that we're talking about what's it called, Ellie?
The Deport Now, Appeal Later scheme.
Explain that to us. How is that going to work?
So this scheme currently operates in 8 countries where we have agreements in place where foreign criminals are deported back to their country of origin and they can appeal directly from their country of origin rather than remaining here in the United Kingdom. We're extending that today. We're trebling it, in fact, from 8 countries up to 23 because we feel like that is what's best placed for that foreign criminal to be able to hear that appeal from their home country rather than staying here in the United Kingdom. However, this is the second part of our announcement this week where we're also going to be deporting foreign criminals immediately on sentencing, and they will have no right to ever return to the United Kingdom.
Can I ask you, as a Justice Minister, on the topic of justice, and it is very important for not only victims but victims' families that they see their perpetrator behind bars serving their time. And what this deal in essence does mean that the country that they get deported to decides whether they serve their sentence in their home country. It could mean that they get off scot-free, that they're walking free the very next week. What does that mean for victims? I mean, that's an awful thing to think about, isn't it?
So we will be deporting these foreign criminals from the United Kingdom because we feel like they shouldn't be here in the first place. Being here in the United Kingdom is a privilege, not a right. And if you come here and you break our laws, then you will feel the full force of that action. You will be deported with no right to ever return. How it currently works under the previous Tory government is that these criminals would have had to have served 50% of their sentence in prison in England and Wales, costing the taxpayer £54,000 a year for bed and board. Now, we feel that's outrageous. We feel like they should be deported immediately back to their country of origin, not costing the taxpayer a penny, and not being able to come back here and hurt our citizens even further.
That sounds very reasonable. I think a lot of people will like to hear all of that, Alex. But what about the European Court of Human Rights? Surely they're not going to want to hear this.
Well, this is compliant with the ECHR. We have made sure that it is all of our obligations under international law are being maintained here. But we've also been very clear that where we feel like Article 8 under the ECHR, this is the right to a family life, where that is being applied for by certain individuals, foreign criminals, we feel like that is being abused. They are using spurious reasons to access that application, and we're going to be tightening that up because we feel like it is, if for far too long, certain individuals have been using that right and it has not been eligible to them. So we're going to be creating new guidance. We've outlined it in the immigration white paper that we need to be reforming the ECHR, and that is exactly what we're doing to ensure that these foreign criminals who have no right to be here in the United Kingdom are deported immediately and have no right to ever return.
Can I ask you about the Chagos Islands deal? Because there's been a lot of debate, hasn't there, and dispute about the figure of this deal and how much it actually costs. And in public, Sir Keir Starmer has put it at £3.4 billion. But there's a Freedom of Information request, and it's the front page of the Daily Telegraph today, that puts the true cost at 10 times that, at £35 billion. Has the government intentionally misled or lied to the British public?
No, and I want to be very clear with your viewers today that we do not recognise that figure at all. The Prime Minister has been forthright in saying that the true cost of this is that £3.4 billion figure. It is less than 0.2% of the defence budget, which is less than the cost of an aircraft carrier. And all of that in order to keep national security safe. The United States are on board with this agreement to make sure that we can maintain that military base on Diego Garcia for national security, and we think that is what's needed in order to protect our British citizens.
Right,
Alex, I just want you to be clear on that, because we have had the Shadow Chancellor, for instance, on this morning talking about this and quoting about this, and these figures have come as a result of a Freedom of Information Act request. So are you sure what you're telling us is correct?
I'm very sure, Eamon. The government does not recognise this figure. The stated figure that the Prime Minister has said is £3.4 billion over the course of the lifetime of this deal. It's around £100 million a year in order to maintain that military base on Diego Garcia, in order to maintain national security, and that is the true cost of this scheme.
The Telegraph today says this is an official document produced by the government's own actuary department, and it puts the figure at £34.7 billion.
And I've told you, we do not recognise that figure. The true cost of this scheme over the lifetime of the deal is £3.4 billion.
Is this a good deal for Britain? I mean, lots of our viewers asking this morning, well, the cost would be zero if we weren't actually handing something back to then lease it back for however much it costs.
For the cost of 0.2% of the defence budget of the United Kingdom, less than the cost of an aircraft carrier, we are maintaining that strategic military base in Diego Garcia, safeguarding the future security of the United Kingdom and ensuring that our allies, such as the United States, have access to that. We think that is the right course of action and the right deal to make.
Alex Davis, great talking to you today. Thank you for clearing that up. That will certainly get a lot of people talking one way or the other for the rest of the day. But thank you for your input. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.